Does Scream 8 already have new writers? Well, let's get into it.
What's your favorite scary movie?
Be afraid. Be very afraid.
I want to be a fighter, like you.
Oh, let it burn! Let it burn!
Did you miss me?
You have to shoot them in the head. They always come back.
The boat can leave now. Tell the crew.
Well, sometimes that is better.
Good luck.
Hey everybody, I'm Killjoy Jake, and instead of having friends, I have horror movies. Today we have a whole bunch of exciting updates to get into, but first, please make sure to like this video and subscribe for more update videos just like this. Also, become a channel member or Patreon supporter if you want to see some of the Dexter reaction videos, which we're currently doing 2 of those a week. You'll be able to see those either early if you want to become a channel member, or a Patreon supporter where you can see them uncut. Thank you to everybody who supports the page. Now let's get into this. The majority of Tommy Wirkola films that I've seen have taken place in the snow of some sort or around the Christmas holiday, so it is so weird to hear that he's doing a shark film. Thrash comes to Netflix on April 10th, and we just got a brand new poster for it that looks bloody as hell. The plot description for Thrash reads, when a Category 5 hurricane decimates a coastal town, the storm surge brings devastation, chaos, and something far more frightening, hungry sharks. On the poster, we can see a woman with what appears to be a fucking baby in her hands in the midst of a flood. Tommy Wirkola said of the film, I became obsessed with sharks after Jaws and Jaws 2, which is an underrated movie. I spent a lot of my childhood obsessing over sharks and whatever movie was made about that subject. Fast forward to a world going off its rails when it comes to global warming and flash floods happening everywhere, and it dawned on me that this could be a great setting off point for a movie, combining the idea of a disaster movie with a shark thriller. Producer Adam McKay says of the film, more and more you're hearing marine biologists acknowledge the climate is changing where these sharks go. It's changing how they behave. So in as much as this is an edge-of-your-seat popcorn film, the science behind it is not implausible. I'm always down for a good shark movie. I think maybe because my expectations for these films are never that high. Jaws is always going to be the best one. You're just never gonna top that. Check this one out on Netflix on April 10th before they raise their prices, them scummy bastards. We don't know much about Osgood Perkins' upcoming feature, The Young People, opposed to that little script excerpt that he shared with us where it teased that a bunch of crazy naked old people are going to be in the film. But Lola Tung, one of the many co-stars of this flick, has given us a really interesting update on it recently. Doing an interview with Variety on her film Forbidden Fruits that is in theaters currently, Lola Tung talked a little bit about her upcoming project, The Young People, saying it was like a crazy, weird, awesome experience. She makes it clear that The Young People is more like Longlegs rather than the monkey from Perkins, saying, I got a little scared on set a couple times, actually, which has never really happened to me. Talking about the rest of the cast, Lola says, Nicole Kidman, I mean, obviously what a force and icon, and Nico Parker and Lily Kalias. I adore them so much. They're incredible. We really bonded very, very fast, which again, it was so cool to have a cast of women that we just clicked very immediately. It was an insane cast. The Young People currently does not have a release date, but it is coming from Neon sometime later on this year. Oz Perkins has been really hit or miss with me, but I did really like his last feature, Keeper, and I know a lot of people really did not like that movie. Maybe I'll find a weird vibe with The Young People that I'll also like too. Jessica Roth is once again hoping that Happy Death Day 3, Happy Death Day to Us will happen sometime soon, especially considering that Christopher Landon apparently has it all mapped out. Talking with Screen Rant, Jessica Roth says, the truth is Chris Landon, our brilliant, fearless writer-director, he has the whole third one figured out. See, what did I tell ya? Talking about why the movie hasn't happened yet, she goes on to say, I think at this point, it's just logistics. All I'll say to you and to all the fans is whether it's next year or when I'm 65 pulling a Jamie Lee Curtis coming back for Halloween, I will be there to finish Tree's story. It's just a matter of when they get all their ducks in a row. This was all brought up at South by Southwest recently, where Jessica Roth was kind of talking about all of this again, hoping that Happy Death Day 3 could happen. Something else that was mentioned by the interviewer specifically is that they were really hoping that a Freaky Death Day movie could happen sometime in the future, some sort of crossover between Freaky and Happy Death Day, something that Christopher Landon has talked about before. All that the writer-director has really told us about the film is that it'll be called Happy Death Day to Us, and that it'll be something completely different from the other 2 films. Kind of like how Happy Death Day to You is almost more of a comedy flick rather than a horror comedy. Maybe it's like Army of Darkness, where Tree and her friends are transported back to the Middle Ages and must fight an army of skeletons. I weirdly would not say no to that movie. Stay tuned on more updates for Happy Death Day to Us, as well as Freaky Death Day, a movie I hope happens. We have a few updates on Halloween the game, some really exciting stuff that has me absolutely cracking up. Friends of the channel Slash and Cast recently discovered in Halloween the game that your civilian character that you can play as can light up a joint and get high, and it actually gives you buffs within the game to battle Michael Myers. Slash and Cast discovered that smoking weed in Halloween allows you to see Michael's pings across the map and can give you an advantage. The developers of the upcoming game also noted, as a civilian, it's up to you to find fellow Haddonfield residents, convince them of Michael's malicious intent, and guide them safely to one of the several possible randomized escapes located around the map before they meet an untimely end. This distinctive cast of playable civilian characters each comes equipped with unique stats, special traits, and signature personalities. We're also hearing that yes, you can play as Dr. Loomis in the game, but there's a very specific way to make that happen. Kinda reminds me of the Friday the 13th game too. The developers also recently talked about this, saying, so what happens in the likely event that a civilian becomes another display of Michael's wretched, inhumane nature? Well, their Haddonfield story isn't over just yet. Even in death, they can support their friends and even return as a sheriff's deputy or the unrelenting Dr. Loomis. Once they've re-emerged upon the streets of Haddonfield, they can cooperate with the remaining civilians and responding officers to try and put a stop to Michael's murderous rampage. While he can't be killed with enough community resistance, the proper equipment, and sheer manpower, he can be detained and shipped back to Smith's Grove Sanitarium. I'm so excited, especially for this IP-focused multiplayer horror game, because it sounds like it's not going to die in just a month like a lot of the other ones out there. Because of this single player story mode that the game has, even if no one's playing the multiplayer mode anymore, like beyond a month of this game's release, you'll still be able to play some element to it, you know, unlike the Texas Chainsaw Massacre game. This is going to be a ton of fun, I think. I cannot wait to play it on September 8th when it releases. Stay tuned for more coverage on this bad boy. Scream 7 has just cracked $200 million at the box office this past weekend, ladies and gentlemen. And if we don't adjust for inflation, technically this is the first time the franchise has ever done that. You can thank the extensive marketing campaign for all of that, the likes of which I have never seen before for a horror film. I don't even think I'm exaggerating too much when I say there were like 50 TV spots, 5 or 6 little teasers, and a handful of trailers to pump some blood back into this bad boy. Scream 7 proves to me that if you're going to continue a very popular franchise that already has a built-in fan base, just pump out as much marketing as you possibly can and people will show up. It's no wonder this movie made bank. Still no word if we're going to get a Scream 4 Steelbook for its 4K release coming up soon from Lionsgate, but we have seen at least what the standard edition looks like. Like we've already talked about in our last Scream update, the 4th film is finally arriving in 4K so we can all complete our physical collections at home in the best quality possible. Maybe they've even removed the piss filter too with some brand new coloring. Anything is possible. Getting into a potentially big Scream 8 update, we may have just found some new writers for the flick. Eagle-eyed Scream fans have noticed that according to public records, there was a copyright filing for Scream 8 back in November of last year. It currently lists the writers of the script and some of the production companies involved, but something about this just stinks to me. The website immediately makes me think this is a bunch of smoke and mirrors, as 3 different production companies are listed: Ninja Puppy Productions, L Portal Productions, and LE Development LLC. The first 2 production companies don't even have websites, and when you look up the last one, it takes you to a real estate website. I know a lot of Scream fans are either getting really excited about this or maybe a little pissed off, but I'm seriously questioning the validity of this entire update. I do want to talk about the writers listed, however, as I think they would be a really interesting choice for this franchise. The writers listed here are Leela and Nora Zuckerman, who have written for TV series like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., J.J. Abrams' sci-fi series Fringe, Rian Johnson and Natasha Lyonne's Poker Face crime series, and the Buffy New Sunnydale pilot that was recently not picked up by Hulu to the dismay of many fans. While I'm not 100% sure if this is legit or not, I think these 2 would be a great choice for the Scream franchise, especially to give it a different perspective, the one that we just haven't seen before. These are 2 writers who have mostly written for television their entire lives, so it might be cool to see what they can do with a feature film. The only thing that I've seen of theirs is Fringe, and the one thing I very much so remember from that show is that it had an excellent concept and some excellent character work, something that a new Scream movie desperately needs. It would also mark the first time that women have written for this series, which would be a huge milestone. Happy Women's History Month, baby. What do you guys think about today's updates though, and which one was your favorite? Let me know down in the comments below. Thank you all so much for watching. Please subscribe, and as always, don't forget to kill it out there, y'all.